Wow, folks, we are back. We are back. We are back. And of course, if you're just joining us, we've been all day here at Sinister Creature Con. Now, look, this thing goes till 7 o'clock tonight. You can get out here for the next couple hours. I'm telling you right now, the tickets are only $30, man. It's worth it. Worth it. So do yourself a favor and get out here. And, this might be a good time, too, because some of the early rush has gone home. So what that means is you can talk to some of these wonderful people. My name is Martin Anaya, and of course, we're going to be here till the end, all the way till 7 o'clock. California Film Foundation, Sacramento International Film Festival, and streaming worldwide live on PacificCoast.tv. Folks, I am very, very honored today to have a lady here who's, Academy Award winner, 3-time Academy Award winner, some of the biggest films that you've seen in your lifetime. That she has had the amazing, I guess, I don't know if it's an honor and a privilege, but and luck and talent to be a part of. I just want to say thank you very much to V. Neill, makeup artist extraordinaire. V, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
No, it's our pleasure, and thank you so much for being here. Now, again, let me just tick off a couple of them. Beetlejuice, right? I mean, first of all, Tim Burton, one of my favorite directors, okay?
Mine too.
And we had the pleasure at the Sacramento Film Festival. We screened a movie called The Aryan Couple, and with Martin Landau. And I got to tell you, Martin Landau's performance as an aging Bela Lugosi, which, by the way, won him the Academy Award, right, that year.
Me. That is one of my Oscars as well.
And won you the Oscar as well. Tell me about that experience. Tell me about Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood, and about that experience working with Martin and Johnny Depp and all those amazing actors.
Now, that's a great question because that's one of the films that I don't get asked a lot of questions about, and it was probably one of my favorite films to do. What was so interesting about that film was when I first got it, I mean, Tim always does quirky stuff, but when I first got it and I read the script, I thought, oh my God, I said, who is going to go see this movie? It's like, it's so bizarre,
It was, yeah.
And it was in black and white. So that alone was kind of a challenge. I know the first time I did the makeup, or the first couple of times, maybe it was the first day, I went to the set with Martin, and he looked fantastic. And of course, I'm seeing him in color. I'm not seeing him in black and white. So I don't really know till we get on set and we start taking some shots or seeing him on the monitor, And I took him in there and Tim said, oh no, V, he looks way too healthy. He's got to look.
Yeah. He was supposed to be.
He has to look like he's
from drug addiction.
Yeah. He has
aging.
to look like he's on his last legs here. And he said, he looks way too good. And I said, okay. And he says, just go back, darken up his eyes or something. And, just make him look like he's really not doing well. And I said, okay. So as you know, Rick Baker designed that makeup. And when Rick did his test with it, he looked amazing because he was doing him in color for a color picture. And it was like, the makeup was stunning, of course. But anyway, but I had to make him look like, almost a zombie practically, And so I took him back. I took Martin back to the trailer. And I'm in there and I'm starting to darken up his eyes a little bit. And in walks Rick Baker. And Rick Baker says, God damn it, V, pardon my language.
What are you doing?
I said, I knew the minute I gave you this makeup, you were going to put dark circles around his eyes.
And you said it wasn't me, it was Burton.
And Martin piped up and he said, no, this wasn't her ID. Tim told her to come back and darken up my eyes. I look too healthy. But it was, it's the truth, and it was really weird. I found that I had to adjust the makeup. I did it little at a time because I really couldn't tell. By the time you saw him, even in person, walking around, he almost looked like he was in black and white because it was the only way I could really guarantee to my eye that the makeup was going to come out properly, and even enhanced a little bit.
And that's such an important point because most modern makeup artists or modern cinema creators of all stripes, they're looking at a color image. But back in the day, it was all black and white. I mean, who knew that Lucy's hair was even red, for sure. I mean, we knew she was a redhead, but I mean, we didn't see it for quite a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it was really interesting. I mean, we had to adjust lipstick colors. I mean, everything had to be adjusted. And we really, until we actually saw the monitors, we didn't know exactly, how everything was. Most of it you could tell, but on a makeup like Martin's, where it was a character makeup, where we really had to adjust certain, tonalities of his skin and everything to make him look ill. It was easy for the girls. They had black eyeliner, red lipstick.
Sure.
Johnny was normal looking. Everybody else was normal looking,
Sure.
But Martin, we really had to work on it because there was a lot of foam latex on his face and,
Sure.
all those other things. And it was funny, if you think about this, you never really saw Bela Lugosi's teeth.
That is
He never
true.
had
That's
fangs,
a
right?
very good point.
So I said to Rick, Rick, I'm going to paint Martin's teeth black. So you never really saw Martin's teeth either because I painted them black.
That is such a fact.
Isn't that a
I got to
bizarre
go back
thing?
and look at this movie for the 100th time now for that point. Okay, now listen, I would love to sit here because that's one of my favorite films. And of course, we played it at the film festival. We had the good fortune of, I even went down to the Beverly Hills Film Festival and hung out with Martin Landau while he won an award. And what a gentleman and what a sweetheart of a guy.
He was a lovely man.
Talk about a chatterbox. You and I were talking off, talk about a guy that could regale you with stories about old school Hollywood.
He had great stories.
Oh my God.
And I'm
yes,
still
he did.
friends with his daughter and son-in-law. So
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. All right. But that's not the first time you worked with Mr. Burton, is it?
It is not. No.
Beetlejuice. Tell
Yep.
us about that. I mean, everybody wants to know about that movie.
Well, Beetlejuice, was really funny because it was actually Bo Welch who told me about it. I was doing a film called The Lost Boys. And towards the end of the film, Bo came to me and said, V, he says, I've got this movie you have to be on. I mean, you got to be on this movie. This is right up your alley. And I said, well, find out who's in the production office and let me go see if I know anybody and maybe I can give them a call and, kind of work my way in there, So it turns out that the production manager on the show just happened to be the first AD on another film I did a few years prior to that called 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 5. Yes, I remember that movie.
So his name was Richard Hashimoto. So I started calling up Richard and I pestered him every week until he got me an interview with Tim Burton. And I didn't really know anything about Tim. I know he had done, the Pee-wee movie and he had done those other little small films that he had done. And I knew he was quirky, but I didn't know how quirky he was,
Right.
So the day I walked in there to have my meeting with him, I looked, and I'm telling you, we were like treated like the redheaded stepchild because it was on the lot at Culver City, the old Culver City studios.
Okay.
And this is before they had redone the studios. So they still were the old Culver City studios. And they had these guys in a production office. Wasn't even an office. It was a trailer. And I mean, it was a crappy trailer. It was sad. The kind that have the old weird wood paneling kind of shit on the inside.
Yeah.
It was like nasty.
Yeah,
right?
like out of the night, straight out of the 60s.
Yeah. And there was this cork board on the side as you walked in, and there was these drawings with push pins stuck on them. And there was a drawing of the Beetlejuice character. And I thought, oh God, he just looks like a trash picker. He looks like a degenerate, he just like, a homeless dude out on the street. Right. And anyway, so I walked on in and the door opened up and I walked into the room and there was Tim. And I almost went, you're the director? It was like one of those guys. I mean, his hair was sticking straight up and shit, and it was all over the place, and he had a wrinkled shirt on, and I went, "Oh, damn," and he was looked like he was about 22 years old. I don't remember how old he was, but
he was probably not
young.
too far. I mean, he was
he
his
might
later,
have been,
maybe early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. He was definitely younger than myself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was in my early 30s, so he was young. But
at that time, he was, maybe he was still in his 20s. I'm sure.
But anyway, so I thought, okay, fine. So we sat down and we chat and we were talking about everybody in the afterlife and what he wanted, kind of what his vision was. And I said, oh, that sounds really cool. And he said, I kind of want all the people in the afterlife to be kind of like pastel colored. And I said, oh, that's kind of fun. I like that idea. And I said, hey, you know what? I said, I've been dying to do a movie with airbrushing because nobody had ever done it. They'd never airbrushed people, colors or anything.
Okay.
Or even just airbrushing in general for makeup, except for, like masks and stuff like that. And I said, we could airbrush them, pastel colors. And I said, do you mean pastel kind of like Necco wafers? And he thought for a second, he goes, yeah, like Necco wafers. Well, you guys probably don't even know what Necco wafers are, but they still sell them. It's a really nasty candy. It's like these sugar discs, and they're all pastel colors. But anyway, so I guess that must have really piqued his interest in my ability to figure out what he was talking about. And eventually I got the job.
And I got to say, too, I don't know to what degree makeup influences a performance, but that was a star-making performance. Let's be honest. For Michael Keaton, I mean, he goes on to play Batman. He goes on to have this like illustrious career. I just got to think that when you're able to see yourself in a mirror, and you see yourself become this other thing, this being, that's got to put you in the right state of mind in order to be able to act.
It definitely put him in the right state of the mind, because he was absolutely out of his mind on that movie. And, and Michael really had a really great a career as a comedic actor before that.
Of
and
course.
He hadn't done anything for a while. And then he got in there and did that. And actually Warner Brothers was pretty much in the dumps back then too. And that movie, it was not a big
brought the studio back.
Well, it wasn't a big box office hit, but the minute it went out to video,
boom,
my God, it went
did.
crazy. And it really brought the studio back to life.
It sure did.
It was like phenomenal.
And Batman, which he went on to do and become, and Burton.
Yep.
Well, this lady, again, as I mentioned, 3 Academy Awards, at least I want to say 8 nominations. Is that right? 8 Academy Award nominations, at least 1 BAFTA that I'm aware of.
BAFTA for Pirates of the Caribbean.
And I was just going to say Pirates of the Caribbean, Gold Member, Hook, so many wonderful, wonderful movies. But tell us about, if you don't mind, quickly, because I want to get to one other question that I got to get to before I let you go. Tell us about Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, Robin Williams was an absolute dream. I still cry, when I don't even like to think about it, but he was such an amazing person to be with. He just exuded love. And I mean, he loved acting. He loved being around people. He loved doing the thing. He just loved entertaining people, and it was just, it just showed every atom in his body just exuded that. And he was just amazing. So kind and so generous and so loving, and just, I can't even tell you enough good things about the man. He was amazing.
So, he was, a San Francisco guy, right?
Yes, of course.
And I'm good friends with a lot of comedians in San Francisco. And one thing that a friend of mine made a movie called Being Robin. It was Margaret Cho and a couple of other, Sandra Bernhardt, a couple of other San Francisco-based comedians that really, after Robin died, really took up the mantle. Because what a lot of people don't know about Robin Williams is how much money he quietly spent supporting artists and specifically comedians in the San Francisco Bay Area when many of them were down on their luck.
That's fantastic.
Helping them stay off the streets, all that.
I can totally believe that, because he was one of the most generous actors I ever worked with. But so let me ask you this question real quickly, because Mrs. Doubtfire, he's got to wear a fat suit. He did have to wear a fat suit.
and a Gold Member, fat bastard, has to wear does this, let me ask you this. Do you have to have, where do fat suits, how does that even happen?
Costume, it happens in the costume department.
Okay.
And they're usually, the good ones now are made with like silicone beads in them, so they kind of flop around like real fat.
More realistic than they need to be.
More realistic than or I think they're silicone beads, or they could be some sort of urethane foam beads or something.
Is that a special challenge for you as a makeup artist?
Well, I don't have anything to do with that. That was done by the wardrobe department.
But then you've got to come in and deal with it, right? You've got to make the seams match, right? You got to make it.
No, I don't have to do any of that.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, that's part of his wardrobe.
Thank goodness.
I only go from there up.
All right. It's all right. So you don't have to touch that part of it at all.
No, I had to shave his arms, but I didn't have to do anything other than that.
And Robin Williams, that's a job.
Oh my God, I got a cute story about that.
Go ahead.
All right. So Robin used to love to ride his bike on the weekends, and I felt really bad because he was very furry. Like he looked like he was wearing a fur sweater. And for Mrs. Doubtfire, his sleeves were always long, but I was always shaving him up to about right here, right? So it would cut off right here, so you had nothing, and then from here up, it literally looked like he was wearing a short sleeve sweater.
Right.
So I said, Robin, I said, you know what, honey? I said, let me do you a favor. Let me kind of give you a fade on your arms so that it doesn't look so weird. So I literally gave his arms a fade haircut so that he could go out riding his bicycle and not look so bizarre, because it really did look funny. And the fade was okay. It was kind of, you didn't really know what you were looking at, but before it was literally like he had a sweater on.
All right. Okay. So how did you get into this? How does a person even look at something like this as a career possibility? What was give me the short version. What was your path?
Okay, the short version is, when I was a little girl, all I ever wanted to do was watch horror movies from the time I was like 5 years old up. And I would rewatch those black and white Universal horror movies over and over. It didn't matter how many times I'd seen them. Every time they came on TV, I'd watch them. And when I was little, there was also this thing called the $1 Million Movie. So what they would do is at 5 o'clock every day, channel 5 or 11, I think we had 5 channels back then. I'm dating myself. They would play the same movie every day at 5 o'clock. So if a horror movie that I wanted to watch came on, I would watch it every day. And I was just obsessed with the fact that somebody could change a human being into one of those characters. And that's all I ever wanted to do. I want to do that. Wow. And I was lucky enough. I grew up in Granada Hills, a little suburb of the San Fernando Valley. My next door neighbor was a makeup man. And he was actually one of the makeup artists that worked on the original Planet of the Apes and everything. I didn't even know that till I saw the film Making Apes.
Talk about another Academy Award-winning makeup job.
Yeah, and anyway, so I used to tell him all the time when I was a little girl, you know, every Halloween he would make me up and make his daughter up, and I always wanted to be a monster, and she always wanted to be a princess or some other stupid little girl thing. But I always wanted to be a witch or a goblin or, you know, some hideous thing. You know, put some goop on my face.
He had to put some work in on you.
Yeah, put some goop on me, make me look scary, you know. So I just always used to say, Mr. Latito, I want to do what you do when I grow up. And he would just say, yeah, oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Ignore me because I was a little girl.
Yeah. And
not only that, I mean, unbeknownst to me, women didn't do makeup. Only men did makeup back then. And I was just saying earlier, then in actuality, I was one of the first 5 women let into the makeup union. And that's when they were forced to open up the unions in the 70s, the mid 70s, when I got in, because I just happened to work on a movie that went signature, like at the end of the movie. And then this came out where they had to open it up to anybody that had worked on a movie that went signature and had got 30 days in during this time period. So funny enough, when I got in the union, I didn't even tell you how I got into makeup. Sorry about that. But when I got into the union, they called us all 30-day wonders because, you know, we didn't have to take the makeup test. So they didn't figure any of us really knew what we were doing. And I had been doing special effects makeup for like 3.5 years on non-union pictures, you know. But I actually wanted to do this so bad. I had started working with some rock bands. There was this space band that I worked with who was actually, a lot of the guys were from Northern California. And they wanted to have big brains and pointed ears like they had on Outer Limits, you know, and like Star Trek monsters and stuff. And I said, well, hey, guess what? I said, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to go find out. So I started going to science fiction conventions. And I would go down to San Diego because that's where, like, this is before Comic-Con, where they had Comic-Con, but it was only comics. It wasn't what it is now.
Yeah, it didn't have all the pop culture.
But they had all the Star Trek conventions down there. So I went down there and I met these guys. Actually, Steve Neill, who was from up here, and he and a couple of friends of his, I got in with them, and when I said, it's a funny little story I was telling earlier, it's like I saw these guys walking around in these Planet of the Apes makeups with the costumes and everything, and they were like perfect, you know, they looked exactly like they stepped out of the movie. And I went up to him and I said, hey, you guys, where did you get those masks? And they were very indignant with me. They said, oh, these aren't masks, they're makeup. And I said, even better, where did you get them? And they said, we made them. And I said, that's so cool. Can you teach me how to do that? And they looked at each other kind of quizzically and they said, well, but you're a girl. And I said, I know, isn't it fabulous? And that was that. they said, okay, well, after I cajoled them and tried to talk them into it, they said, okay, well, come up to Santa Barbara and come to the garage and hang out with us, and you can see what we do and blah blah blah. And one thing led
Wow.
to the next. I was with Steve Neill for 3 years. I stole his last name because it sounded better with my first name.
Yeah.
And thank you, Steve. And
Thanks, Steve. Good looking out.
anyway, that's how it started. And I did that. And he and I worked together. We got all kinds of cool jobs. And I had met Fred Phillips at the Star Trek conventions. So when Steve and I would get these jobs to build these makeups that we couldn't go put on because it was a union picture, I'd always call Fred up and say, hey, Fred, Steve and I made this makeup. Can you go put it on for this show? And he'd go, yeah, no problem, V, I'll go do it. So lucky for me, I had stayed friends with Fred. And when they did the first Star Trek movie, I remember I was like in my dining room and I picked up the phone, phone rang, and I picked it up, and Fred says, hey, V. I said, hey, Fred, what's up, honey? And he said, you worked with Bill Shatner before, right? And I said, yeah, I did a crummy little movie with him. And he said, well, hey, he said, they're going to do a Star Trek movie. And I thought, well, why is he going to ask me something? And I kind of waited for a second, and he went, do you think you'd want to work on a Star Trek movie with me? And I went,
Would
I
I?
went, what would I just gotten in the union, like 6 months before that, probably.
Yeah.
And I totally flipped out and said, hell yeah, I do. Yeah. So that was my first big union movie that I did. Before that, I was like day checking on like Eight Is Enough and Love Boat. And
Next thing you know, you're doing Vulcan ears.
And then next thing I know, I'm doing Vulcaneers, and I did all the Klingons and
the Klingon prosthetic.
yes.
And all that.
And
wow.
I mean, it was amazing.
It is amazing. And I got to tell you, first of all, thank you. V. Neill is very, very sweet to have given us her time today. But you know what? I made you a promise that I was going to let you get back because she's still got people. She's still got a line over here, and you can still get over here. It is Sinister Creature Con, so we're here till 7:00. So come if you can, and maybe you can even meet
cool
V.
stuff here.
Yeah, there's
lots of cool stuff and really neat people, and it's actually really fun. I've been having a ball. And we've got this scary thing across from us that I keep looking over there, the cemeterium.
It's
nice.
All kinds of cool stuff, guys. So do yourself a favor and get over here. But meanwhile, V, thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy. And folks, you heard it right here. Little girls, little boys, doesn't matter.
Yep.
You want to grow up to be a world famous makeup artist and win Academy Awards? You can do it, right, V?
Anybody can do it. You just have to have the will. And the knowledge, of course. Oh, by the way, the knowledge, I'm opening up my makeup school this year. Legends Makeup Academy.
Legends Makeup Academy. You heard it right here first, and we will put it on the ticker for you so that you can get that. And again, thank you so very much, V.
Thank you.